everybody, my name is Cam2D3D Blue and welcome back to another Cam2D3D tutorial. Now in this video we're going to be taking a look at Cam2D3D, which to some people is a pretty advanced topic, so if you don't fully understand this video, do not worry about it, you can come back to it at another time. Now before the video starts, as I always do, if you're looking for one-on-one lessons or just a cool place to hang out or some cool resources, go check out my website cam2d3dtutorials.com. I would also strongly appreciate it if you could fill out the survey that is on the screen right now. There will also be a link in the description if you're on mobile. This just helps me understand what you want with my videos and how I can improve them to make them better for you. The next part in this series will also be a game mode tutorial, and by doing that survey you can also suggest what we should make as the game mode. So anyway, let's get started. Now I did just record this just now and I messed up a little bit, so I'm gonna go ahead and revert my changes. So here we go. So all this is, if you haven't watched my video where we made an entity, it's just a plain entity that does absolutely nothing other than has a model like this. That's all it is. It's just an entity with a model. So yeah, basically I'm going to be using Blender to try and describe what Cam2D3D is. So Cam2D3D is where we draw a 2D HUD on a 3D surface. So let's say, for example, when we're doing HUD paint and we're doing draw.rounded boxes and stuff like that, we're drawing shapes on our screen, which is two-dimensional. Now, what we can do with Cam2D3D is create a flat surface in 3D space and draw to that surface instead, which allows you to do cool stuff. Like, let's say I go ahead and I spawn in something like this workbench. The text and the blue outline that you see on there is all Cam2D3D. That's not actually part of the texture, nor is it part of the model. I'll show you another example. If I were to spawn in the mixer here, you'll see the mixer has kind of this floating kind of thing on it. So that's Cam2D3D. So let's go ahead and take a better look in Blender. If I go ahead and say that this is our entity that is in the game. If I went ahead and created this plane here, this is a 2D surface. This is what we would draw on. So this would be invisible. We'd be drawing on this surface, which is in a three-dimensional area. So we're doing 2D drawing in a 3D space. So I hope that made sense to you. If it didn't, then I don't know. There will be links in the description to some decent documentation on it. So that might help you understand it a little bit better. But anyway, if we go ahead and we go into the cl_init file, what we're going to do is we're first going to want to define that we're going to be drawing on the Cam2D surface. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, now just I want to throw this out that we do this in ent draw because we're drawing on the entity, and typically you're going to want to draw the model first before we actually start doing the Cam2D3D. Otherwise the Cam2D3D is going to be behind the model, which is what you typically don't want. So what we're going to do is say cam.start 2D3D. Whoops, what did I do then? Start 2D3D. There we go. So now you can see I was asking for a few things: to pause, the angle, and the scale. So all we're going to do is we're going to do self.getPause, and then we're going to do self.getAngle, angle, and then we're going to just put a scale of 1 in there. Okay, and we're also going to do cam end 3D 2D just to signify where it ends. If you don't end it, then you will have a rendering issue as it's trying to render everything in the Cam2D3D. Your entire map will break, and it's not pretty. So now that we've gone ahead and did this, like, let's explain what this position and this angle does. So this position is basically the position of the 2D surface. So this is our 2D surface. We're defining the position, I can't even speak properly, the position of this in the 3D space. And the angle is, of course, the angle of it, which would be, you know, its rotation in the 3D space. So for now, we just go ahead and we set them to the same as the entity's angle and position. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to say draw.rounded box like this. And we're going to go ahead and just select this. And I'll say 0. So we're going to begin drawing at 0, 0. And we're going to do 100, 100. And the color will just do a color of, I don't know, a lime color. So now if we go into our game, and I get rid of those, and now I spawn in the entity Cam3D 2D test. As you can see, it now has this green kind of square on it. This green square is that draw.rounded box. Now, as you can imagine on here, we have this surface. The part here, or technically it would be here, is 0, 0, and we draw just like we would on a screen, except we're drawing here. So a better example of this is, I just want to throw out as well that some of you may be a bit confused as to, oh, you never defined the width or the height of that panel. No, I did not. And the reason why is because you can draw the width and the height as much as you want. So if we do 1,000, as you can see, we now have a much bigger box. And as you can see, the box also follows the cube because we set it to the cube's position and the cube's angle. So let's go ahead and get this back down to a more reasonable amount like this. So this is our smaller one. And then what we can do is we could simply just draw like we normally would. Here we could say start at 2020. And here we could -40 and -40. And this time we'll do this one at that color. And now as you can see, we get the box on top of the box. And if we really wanted to, we could just jump over to the GMOD wiki. Sorry, this is on my other monitor. I know you can't see this. But you should remember the whole surface.create font from my hood painting tutorial. So we'll go ahead and we'll chuck this in here. We'll just leave the name. I can't be bothered to change it. And we'll just go ahead and do draw.simple text. And we'll draw a hello world. Whoops. The font, we're going to go ahead and set it to the default settings. The X and the Y we'll do at 50/50. The color, we'll just do the color of 120, 120, 255. And the X and Y line we'll do at 1 and 1. So if we go ahead and save that now, as you can see, we even get text on here. But this is where you start to notice something. And that's where everything seems really low quality. And that's because we have a scale of 1. Everything gets actually zoomed in really far. It expects this to be pixel to pixel to our screen, in which it's not. So how can we fix this? This magic number here, which is our scale, we can reduce. So if we go 0.1, for example, and we go back into the game, as you can see, our Cam2D3D is a whole lot smaller now. But what we could do is we could make everything bigger. So we could change this to 5. Actually, we'll change this to 1,000. We'll just add an extra 0 onto everything, as that makes it nice and easy for us to do. And we'll go ahead and change this to 500, 500. And by going ahead and scaling it up like that, you can see this is still the same size as it was now. Our text is still super small. So the way how we'd fix that is go in here and we would change our actual font size. And there you go. Now we get the same text and it's higher quality. So again, a bit confusing, but changing the scale is kind of like changing the resolution of the screen. The smaller the scale, the more dense the pixels are on the Cam2D3D. So the more higher the numbers you have to work with are. Now Cam2D3D, when you first start working with it, can be extremely painful trying to line everything up and understand the positioning. But something I want to show you all is, which was something that I struggled with, is when you want to rotate the actual surface. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and before we start the Cam2D3D, we'll make a variable called ang and we'll set it equal to self.getAngle. Okay, we'll get angles. Now when we do cam.start, we're going to go ahead and we're going to create an angle. So if I go ahead and now, as you can see, nothing's changed. It does the same because we're setting it to the position's angle. But now if I want to go ahead, and I do apologize, I just realized what I said. We're setting it to the position's angle. Sorry, we're setting it to the entity's angle. I am extremely tired. It is currently 2:30 a.m. over here. So anyway, what we want to do is we want to rotate around a specific axis. So what we're going to do is we're going to say ang rotate around axis. Now the axis is basically the pivot point. So if we go back into Blender here, you can see this red arrow. This is known as the x-axis. And if I rotate around that axis, as you can see, it has a perfect rotation around there. If I rotate around this yellow one, which is the y-angle, as you can see, it has a perfect rotation around that. So that same thing applies here. But how can we get those specific angles? We could say self colon, I believe it's forward, would give us the y. Then you could have right, which would give us the right one, and up, which would give us up. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to use the right, and we're going to rotate it by 90 degrees on the axis that moves right, which should be this one here, which would result in something like this, except it would be pushed back to that. So let's go ahead and save this, and as you can see, something just happened in the game, and we actually get an error. Attempted to call method right. Let me go ahead and see if I can fix this error real quick. Okay, so that was a really silly mistake on my part. We have to do, rather than just self right, we have to do self get angles. And then we get the right direction of that angle, so we can rotate around that. So if I go ahead and save now, as you can see, it is now tipped upright. Now we are facing the wrong way. But as you can see, it is still slightly off. So what we can do is we can rotate it around an axis again. But this time we'll go ahead and we'll rotate it around the up axis, not the up, the forward axis. And we'll rotate it by 90 degrees on that also. And now, as you can see, we have it upright. So I hope that made sense. I know it was really confusing. I do apologize. If you have any questions, feel free to add me personally on Steam and I will try and answer them on that. Also, don't forget to check the description. There will be lots of information on Cam2D3D down there. That should make a lot of you happy. So anyway, thanks for watching. Oh wait, one more thing. Don't forget that the next part of this series will be a game mode. We will be writing a game mode from scratch. Now, I need suggestions for the game mode. It can't be anything too big because I don't want to do a 50-part tutorial on a single game mode, but it's got to be something that you guys want. I don't want to make something really simple that you guys find boring and not entertaining to watch. I want you to be, like, to find it entertaining to watch as well as learning from it at the same time, but not being too complex also. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you liked it. If you have any questions, leave a comment or add me on Steam, and I will see you in the next video.